Let's begin, though, where the day ended in Kansas City. The Chiefs hosting the Bills. And this is the second time, or the twice time as the case may be, so far this year that we've seen the Chiefs lose to a team that they had previously mastered. They had mastered the Ravens. Ravens found a way to beat them on Sunday night. It was a close one that could have gone either way. Last night wasn't nearly as close, although the Chiefs tried. You know, they've got that ability to score 28 points like that if they want to. They tried to muster the comeback, but at the end of the day, 38-20, Bills are 4-1. Chiefs are 2-3, last place in the AFC West. And it felt like a changing of the guard game last night at Arrowhead Stadium.
Well, I think the big thing that we have to see is remember, teams don't stay stagnant. I've talked about this the last few weeks. You see the best team in the AFC have been Kansas City. You see they score a lot of points, so that's what you have to do to combat that. You can sit there and try and get a great defense as well to slow them down like we saw Tampa Bay's defense do last year in the Super Bowl. But for the most part, you have to score. And that's what we're seeing out of these teams. And one of the biggest differences for Kansas City, Mike, is they're hurting themselves. I mean, at this point, Patrick Mahomes has 6 interceptions. He had 6 interceptions all of last year, so he's already equaled that. They're blowing coverages left and right. So at least so I'll try and do a calming thing, I think, for the Chief fans. When you see a blown coverage, it's one thing you say, okay, we can fix that. L'Jarius Sneed blows a coverage. Daniel Sorensen a couple coverages. You know, so you see that and you say, okay, we can fix that at least, because that's a mental error that can be fixed. It wasn't you physically getting beaten over and over and over again on the field, which they're experiencing more of this year. But what they're doing are more things against them. While teams are getting better around them, they're also hurting themselves more this year than they've done in previous years. So you put those two together, and all of a sudden, you know, they're not just sitting high and muddy in the AFC anymore.
And in the aftermath of Super Bowl 55, when there was a deliberate effort to make the offensive line better after the way that Patrick Mahomes was chased around by the Buccaneers front four, maybe they didn't put as much into getting the defense to maintain or improving it as they could have. It would have helped to have had Chris Jones last night. That's a huge loss for the Chiefs. He was out due to injury. But that defense feels like it has dipped. They fixed the offensive line to a certain extent, but the defense has dipped, and it showed last night. It also helps for an offense to have Josh Allen when going against the Chiefs or anyone else. Let's hear quickly from Emmanuel Sanders on Josh Allen's performance last night, a performance that makes him one of the shortlist MVP candidates.
It's ridiculous what he's doing out there, even him jumping over defender. I mean, he was just on a whole nother level tonight. And a few times, he's my teammate, and we joke a lot, but I became a fan for a little bit. I was like, snap out of it, snap out of it.
You know, they had gotten very careful the past couple of years about Josh Allen running the ball. And I feel like they deliberately hold that back until they get into single elimination mode because you don't want to get the guy hurt. But we first got a glimpse of Josh Allen's running abilities early in his career. The Bills were 17-point underdogs in Minnesota in September of 2018. And we see Josh Allen hurdling the likes of Anthony Barr. We see him diving into the end zone. We see him doing all sorts of things that weren't part of the pre-draft discussion. The pre-draft discussion was this guy's got a giant arm. He just isn't very accurate. Well, he wasn't very accurate because he didn't have very good receivers around him. But he can do it all. And he runs selectively and he runs smartly, Mike. We talk about quarterbacks that get injured all the time. He does not put himself in a bad position. He knows when to run, knows when not to run, and then knows when to do the slide or get out of bounds when that play is over.
So this is, I think, the progression of a quarterback, which it's been incredible for him because there's not a lot of times you see a bad completion percentage in college, especially at a lower level in college, then come up and be, a better completion percentage. And all of a sudden you're saying, okay, that could be a strong point for him. So what happens early? You mentioned early on in his career, the completion percentage wasn't great. What he did is he trusts his legs more than the confidence he had in throwing the ball down the field because he can run. So at the end of that rookie year, he ran a lot because the passing wasn't as good. But credit to the coaching staff and to him for how the completion percentage and his passing game and his passing acumen has all improved in the short time he's been in the NFL. So now, because he's throwing better, he has more confidence in that. There's no need to say, I need to rely on my legs more than my arm because of the way my game is. Now he can rely on his arm just as well, and his legs are like icing on the cake, where you can jump over a defender, and make that crucial first down or get what you need to get. I look at the other of that, and we'll talk about it later, is a Trey Lance. Trey Lance hasn't played football in a long time. He got the start, and he ran the ball a lot. Now, they had a lot of runs for him, but he was taking off and he was running, because I think right now he has more confidence in the fact that he can run than making some of the throws. That was Josh Allen early in his career, but Josh has blossomed into, and you said it, as an MVP candidate, without a doubt he is, but I think that's just the progression he has made. Again, kudos to him and the coaching staff for the steps he's taken.
Yeah, the dedication and the commitment year-round to improving his throwing mechanics, his throwing abilities, and it really started last year when you could sense that the offense was running through him, that he was becoming one of those quarterbacks who is the centerpiece of the offense, and he's figured it out, and he knows how to deliver the ball the right way, to deliver it accurately, to make good decisions, to use good mechanics, and it helps to have an arm that can do that with a flick of the wrist to a guy who springs open, but not a lot of quarterbacks can that quickly and that suddenly. It's almost a Marino release where when he decides to let it go, it is gone, Mike.
Oh, without question. And also because of his size, it's kind of like it's like Ben, it's kind of with your size, you'll just stand right in the pocket because you have the size to shake people off. But then unlike a guy like Ben Roethlisberger, he can move. He can get out of the pocket. He can run when he has to. He kind of has the whole thing working for him right now. He can stand with his size in the pocket. He can move a little bit if he needs to, or he can run and he can take off and kind of get the job done as well. So he is putting it all together, and they've done a nice job building around him. Obviously getting Diggs there when they did last year was a huge part for this offense. But let's not forget, you do need another side of the ball. The defense is playing extremely well right now. So when I sit there and talk about, okay, the high-scoring teams are usually the big teams, well, what can be the difference in those games? It's going to be the defensive side of the ball to make that stop or two, to not completely stop a great offense, but to slow it down a little bit. And Buffalo has that ability. They get a pick six. Yesterday, Micah Hyde gets a pick six for the offense. And remember, KC was coming back in this one. It was 31-20. They got an interception, but Frank Clark had a roughing the passer, so that hurts it. As we watch Micah Hyde's pick six off a pass that should have been caught. I mean, it's one of those where you got to make the play, and Tyreek Hill doesn't. It goes off his hands into Micah Hyde for an easy pick. But the defense making plays, again, that's what you saw last year with Tampa Bay. We kept talking about Brady and the offense, but that defense was making plays, and that can turn out, even though in a higher scoring game, someone's got to make some stops. And right now, they have the defense that's able to do that.
The point when it comes to beating the Chiefs has been you figure out a way to outscore them. I think that's something you've said a couple of times so far this year. When you don't need to score more than 20 at Arrowhead Stadium, that's a pretty good night, and that's ultimately what it came down to.
Hi, I'm Mike Tirico, and thanks for watching. Make sure to hit subscribe for the latest news and highlights from NBC Sports.